Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert Cabot, the fantasy football counselor. Got a fun one here for you. I've got five fantasy football players that I will just never trust. And I'll explain why I don't trust them in the show. I mean, I just seriously just will never, ever draft them. I'll never trust them. Don't like the situation. Don't like anything about their fantasy performances over the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however some of these guys have been around, right? So 5 players, 5 guys that I will never, ever, 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 ever draft or ever, ever trust in this episode right here, right now. Let's get to it.
So you want to go hard? So you want to be the greatest? Your life is a fantasy, and it's all for the taking. Cause this time is now when I gotta get it. I'm a beast, I'm a freak when it comes to winning. Eyes on the prize like it's television. All room, no bus, no room, your blood. So you want to go hard?
All right, guys, welcome. Before we get into the show, guys, head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Get the 16-round draft solution. This is the game changer, guys. Draft kits are dead. That's old technology, right? If you want to call it technology, I'm giving that as an example. Magazines, 4-letter networks, cheat sheets, draft kits, anyone selling you a draft kit, it's like me saying, hey, guys, buy this old payphone here or flip phone, right? You don't need a new iPhone. What you need is a payphone, right? That's the same type of analogy. And I'm not trying to over-exaggerate. That's the facts because it's literally copy and paste BS. So head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. It's video training, guys. I lay out all the sleepers, breakouts, all the optimal players to draft in each round. Everything is laid out for you guys. Very nice, and it's on a silver platter. You're going to absolutely love it, guys. Everything is there at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com or link here below on YouTube. Get 16 rounds now. I'm telling you guys, you'll be very, very happy. And hey, the NFL draft's coming, so we are going to be full flow NFL season. I released the first version of it a week after the NFL draft as the depth charts lay out, and I know who's who on what team and what I feel will be the volume for each player. Then we start getting a feel for what's going to be happening. I'm beyond excited, guys, about this season, and it's going to be here before we know it. 16 rounds, get it. All right, 5 guys I do not trust. I have to avoid. I'll never trust. I'll never draft. Let's get to it, and I'll explain why. Now, please leave a thumbs up. It takes 2 seconds of your time. Really helps the channel. Smash that thumbs up, and also leave a comment below and leave a comment. I really want to know if there's a player that screwed you in fantasy or if there's a guy that you don't trust. You never draft this guy no matter what, even if he landed to you in the 8th round and you felt he's a good player, just like based on popularity, just fell there to you, and you just would never draft him. Just give me a player you just would never trust in the comments below. All right, the first player here, guys, and I'm telling you, I will never, ever, 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 ever trust this guy. And at this point in the game, when I said this like 4 years ago, people thought I was nuts. Then I said it 3 years ago, and people thought I was crazy. Then I saw it 2 years ago, and people like, get this guy in a straitjacket. Then I said it last year, and people like, it kind of makes sense now. Now it's kind of obvious, but I got to say it, man. Yet people will still draft this guy thinking he's going to still do well. The guy I'm talking about is Odell Beckham Jr. He is by far the most overrated wide receiver in NFL history, not only in fantasy, but in reality as well. He had the one leaping catch, and he had a year or two that was pretty good with Eli Manning back when he was on the Giants. But this guy is not good. He's not even like he was an overrated player to begin with. Then you tack on the fact that he can't stay on the field and injuries. And that makes a recipe for disaster because a lot of people bought the hype and literally just drafted this guy predicated on the fact that he's a marketable guy. He's a marketable guy. He's the face. He's very marketable. He's very popular. And that's a big reason why people drafted him. And that's not how you're going to win fantasy leagues. And I talk about that in the 16-round draft solution. I will never, ever draft him. Let me tell you why. Let's talk about this. 2017, I crap you not here. 2017, he finished 83rd amongst wide receivers. I think he only played 4 games that season. Okay, so we'll call that a fluke, okay? Drafted in the first round by the mainstream, finished 83rd amongst wide receivers in PPR. So, all right, so they told you, hey, let's draft Odell Beckham in the first round. That's what everyone told me, except for me. I said, I don't trust this guy. He's going to a new team. I think that was when he went on the Browns, was it not? Either way, I think it was. Either way, he was not a guy I trusted. I said, stay away from this guy. You cannot trust him. He's not a guy you want to draft. And sure enough, he busted, okay? 2018, again, the mainstream said, hey, draft Odell Beckham Jr. in the first round. Guess what happened, guys? He finished 15th amongst wide receivers. They're saying, Joel, 15th is not that bad. You can't be so hard on him. It is, when considering he was a first-round pick, top top wide receiver. He was like, I looked at all the magazines. I might have one. No, my magazine's over there. I ripped it up yesterday. If you watch my Instagram, if you're not following on Instagram, go at Fantasy Football Counselor and follow. I ripped up one of the magazines, but he was literally, I think, the first wide receiver back in 2018. He was recommended as the number 1, maybe number 2 wide receiver, give or take. And that's where he was recommended, and he finished 15th. So, yeah, if you're recommended to be the first wide receiver and you finish 15th, that's pretty bad. That's 14 spots below, where you were supposed to finish, right? That's a big bust, right? 15th. Okay. So you're like, okay, yeah, Joe, the first year he got injured. Then the second year he played 12 games, finished 15th. He still missed a couple games, Joe. Maybe it's injury. Okay. So then again, 2019 comes. Stick with me. This is a good story. 2019 comes and everybody and their mother tells you Odell Beckham's a first round. The mainstream, one of these so-called godfathers of fantasy, this loser guy, older guy, by the way, I'm not going to say who it is, said Odell's going to have a record year at wide receiver. This is the year that Odell is going to shut. And that's what they all said. What did I say? I said, stay the hell away from this guy. He sucks. Straight up, I said that Odell Beckham Jr. sucks. 2019, right? First round pick. Again, that's where everyone recommended. He finished 25th in PPR. 25th. I'm telling you, he did finish all 16 games. So literally, that year you could say, well, Joe, injury, there's no injury as an excuse. He just sucked. And then there's always the excuse, his quarterback sucks, this and that. No, Baker was a high prospect coming out of college. He has a good opportunity to succeed with him, right? And they've got Landry there, so there's tons of opportunity to distract the defenses, right? They got a good running game with Nick Chubb. Like, there's really no excuse for his lack of performance. Finished 25th again, drafted in the first round, busted 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. In 2020, as if once, twice, 3 strikes, you're out. No, the mainstream tell you to draft Odell Beckham Jr. when? In the 3rd round. In the 3rd round. They told you. Draft Odell in the 3rd round. He was like top 10 rankings yet again. Like, this is the thing. This is the problem. This is why I created 16 rounds and I solved it, right? The thing is that they try to save face, right? They're like, oh, this is a popular name. I'd look stupid if I didn't put Odell in my top 10, right? They did it 4 years in a row. And they didn't learn. Last year, just to make a note here, I think he only played 6 or 7 games. He didn't play a lot of games. He finished 89th amongst wide receivers in PPR with 86 points. That is embarrassing. This is a guy who's busted 4 years in a row. And yet people still think this guy is a good wide receiver. He's not good. He's not. If I went out there, played one game, and I said, oh, I'm a marketable guy, let's say I play one game, I could do the same thing he does. You know what I mean? There's no difference. All I got to do is show up and say, hey, look, I'm Odell, and just get injured 2 games in. It's ridiculous. I will never draft him. I will never trust him. And that is my story. And now he's currently sitting 29th amongst wide receivers. They finally come to their senses. I will still never draft him. Even if he came to me as the last pick in the draft, I will not be drafting Odell Beckham Jr. Ever, 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 ever. He will never be on my rosters, never was on my rosters. And for 4 years, I dodged the Odell Beckham Jr. bullet. And if you've got 16 rounds, you also did too. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, next guy. Man, I had to explain that one. I won't go into as much detail for this one, but I just don't trust him. And now you guys are going to say, well, you're crazy for this one, but Nick Chubb, I don't trust him. Currently sitting 10th amongst running backs of PPR. Now, one thing I got to note here, and I've said this many times before, when you have a committee, okay, think about this like this, okay? When you have a committee where one running back and the other running back are equally as good, or there could be a debate that one running back could be better than the other running back who's slated as a starter, for example, Kareem Hunt, there is a debate that he could actually be better than Nick Chubb. I think he is. Now, he's not as good of a pure runner. We all know that. Let's be factual here. But if you gave him the same amount of attempts as you did Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt will perform on the same level, maybe not as good on the ground, but he definitely does it in the receiving game. So you've got 2 running backs that are equally as good. I want to note here, for the past 2 years, Kareem Hunt outscored Nick Chubb in PPR both years if you lay it out in PPR. Now, you could say Nick Chubb only played, 12 games last year or something like that. What was it? I think it was 12 games. So you could make a debate, Kareem Hunt got hurt. Blah. Well, that's part of it, right? You're investing in a guy that gets hurt. Durability is an issue. Maybe he's getting run to the ground too much. Maybe he's getting too many attempts. I don't know, right? Maybe he's not built to take on a full year workload, right? That's why they got Kareem Hunt there. Maybe the Browns know it. That's why Kareem Hunt is even in the picture, right? Maybe he's just not as durable as a guy that can handle that load like a Derrick Henry. So I look at Nick Chubb and I look at the scenario. Yeah, he finished good last year. He had a good season. When I filter this out here, one sec here, Nick Chubb actually finished 11th amongst running backs PPR, Kareem Hunt in 10th. And again, you can make the debate that Nick Chubb only played 12 games. But again, I don't trust it. I don't trust the scenario where Kareem Hunt, I've seen statistically, has outscored Nick Chubb in PPR formats both years. It doesn't matter if injury's there. Injury's a part of it. Well, you could say, well, Joe, Nick Chubb's going to have a full year now. And based on the stats, last year he finished 11th. He's going to play a full season. He's going to finish top 5 and top 10 easily. Yeah. Yes. But again, he's got to finish the season fully healthy, and Kareem Hunt has got to not be a factor. And we've seen it game in, game out, where Kareem Hunt outscores him almost every game in PPR. So again, it's a situation where I will never trust Nick Chubb based on the fact that I've got to overpay to get him, which I won't do. I will never overpay to get him. And the fact that Kareem Hunt has outscored him and he's there. Now, if Kareem Hunt was gone, sure, Nick Chubb, great. Makes sense as a first round, second round pick. But the fact that Kareem Hunt is there, and I'm seeing the stats here, I'm just going to stay away. I'm not going to invest. If I can get Nick Chubb in the 5th, 6th round, sure. Why not? Why not? But first, second round, hell no. Hell to the no. All right, next guy here, and I don't see the hype here. I don't see anything that's good about him at all. The guy I'm talking about is Joe Mixon. I will never, ever, ever trust this guy for fantasy football. Never, ever, 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 ever trust him. And I don't see the hype. He's currently sitting 12th right now on the PPR rankings amongst running backs going into 2021 fantasy football. Looking at every year prior to that. Now, I don't get it. Like, I don't see the hype. Now, he had one good year. I'm pulling it up here. He had one good year. Let me just say this one more time so let's it sink in. He had one good year. His best year was 2018, and he finished 10th with 243 points. Let that sink in. Last year, he was a top 10 guy. Everyone said draft Joe Mixon, end of first round, early second. Now, look at Joe Mixon's stats, okay? I'm going to pull this up in PPR. 243 points was his best year, and that was 2018, where he had his pinnacle 8-touchdown season. He played 2017, 4 touchdowns, 2018, 8 touchdowns, 2019, only 5 touchdowns, and in 2020, playing 6 games and only getting 3 touchdowns. So he's played full 4 seasons, and those peak out of the 4 seasons was an 8-touchdown season with 243 points. Listen, it's a suspect offense. I understand they may draft an ace wide receiver to complement T. Higgins, which is pretty good and kind of stepped up last year. You got Burrow coming back from injury. Joe Mixon, just not a guy I trust. They shipped off, who is it? Giovanni Bernard is no longer there, I believe. I think they're going to draft another running back that they're going to start integrating and working. I don't think Joe Mixon's the solution. I don't think Joe Mixon's that good, to be honest with you. And again, 4 years to wow us, and we're not wowed. A pinnacle year with 243 points, yet he's still top 12 right now. And that is absolute ludicrous, considering you are putting him ahead of guys like David Montgomery, who outperformed him last year. And again, it's the mainstream, saving face yet again with a guy that they've been riding for years and has busted every single year after the fact that they told you to draft him early. So Joe Mixon's another guy I will never, ever, ever, ever trust, ever. All right, the next guy here, now I may get a lot of like eyebrow raises, and people will not be happy about this one, but it's my reason, my feelings. I will never draft him, but you guys can. I mean, he did well the past couple years, right? The guy I'm talking about is Dalvin Cook. I know. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I understand you're upset. Joe, he finally had a good season, Joe. He finished second amongst running backs, Joe. He had 337 points, Joe. He had 16 touchdowns, Joe. He finally did it. Well, I'm going to debate all of those points. Yes, he had a good season, okay? But we've seen it every time. What goes up must come down. Finished second amongst running backs. He is definitely due for a decline. 2 Cinderella seasons. Now, here's a quick point. He has not finished a season at all. Now, if you go back to 2019, it was your fantasy football championships and he got hurt. So he screwed you 2 years ago. Last year, I could say he had a good season. He played 14 games. He had I think it was a hammy thing he tweaked in the middle of a game there, and he missed a game or two. But, again, let's talk about the pluses. I love the volume. Again, I love the Cinderella year. I love the talent. I love the opportunity. He's going to get all that, right? But I'm not sold on him finishing a season because he hasn't 4 years in a row. Yes, he finished second, so what goes up must come down. He's due for a decline year, 2 almost Cinderella seasons. And again, I'm just, he makes me cringe. Let's go back here. First season, he played four games. Second season, he played 11 games. And then the past 2 seasons, he played 14 games respectively in those seasons. Again, he just gets worked hard. He gets run to the ground. And I still don't feel he's physically that running back that can handle a season of bruising. We've seen it again, him again, not finishing a full season. And again, you could make that argument that he had a good season last year. Yes, but I have to invest a first-round pick. I have to invest a first-round pick, a very early pick for that matter, probably a top 3-4 pick on a guy that I know has not finished a season and that I know came off 2 Cinderella seasons and that I know a decline is absolutely imminent. And for those reasons, I'm not going to do it. When I can get myself a guy who is due for a boom season, like a Saquon Barkley, or maybe even a Christian McCaffrey, who's a little more durable. Mind you, he had a bad season last year, but he's been working out hard, or even a Derrick Henry if I'm going that early, right? Or a Zeke Elliott, who, knock on wood, has been really healthy every single year, had a down year last year, and looking towards a better year this year. Safe, solid, reliable, top 4, 5, 6, 7 pick, right? Whereas Dalvin Cook, and again, the reasons I explained, I don't trust it. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to draft a guy that has never finished a season that early. If I can get Dalvin Cook in the 3rd round, sure. Why not? It's my 3rd RB. Yeah. Joe, you're crazy. How could you say that, Joe? How could you? Because I am. He's due for a decline. It's happening. There's no way the Cinderella man walks away again. Cinderella seasons. It's just not going to happen. All right. Next guy here is Tyreek Hill. Another guy I will never, ever trust, never been on my teams. I think he was on my team actually a couple years ago when he had a good year. I'll tell you why I don't trust him. Now, the thing with Tyreek Hill is you always have to spend an early draft pick on him. So you're looking at a mid to late first-round pick every single time. Now, when I look at him statistically from 2016 all the way to 2020, he has a problem with not finishing seasons. Now, last year, 15 games, 12 games a week in 2019, 16 in 2018, 13. So he doesn't miss that many games, but he's known to miss a few games. But for him to really succeed, he is extremely, let me repeat this to you, extremely dependent. For him to succeed, he's extremely dependent on touchdowns. Now, he had 15 touchdowns last year, hence the 328 points. Prior to that, he hasn't had a good season like that, right? He had 12 touchdowns in 2018, giving him 328 points. Again, similar type of year, but again, 12 touchdowns. In 2019, where he had 7 touchdowns, 12 games, you could say that he played a couple less games. He had 188 points. And in 2017, he had 7 touchdowns playing 15 games, right? 239 points. So the 2 years he had the 328 points, which is 2018 and 2020, he had those big touchdown years. Now, he is very touchdown dependent, but that doesn't matter because he gets touchdowns, Joe, right? It doesn't matter. He's still putting up the points. Yes, but I find him, when you look at it year in, year out, and again, I'm looking back at 2017, 239 points. Stick with me. 2018, 328 points. 2019, 188 points. 2020, 328 points. It's like miss, hit. And there's this pattern of like good, bad, good, bad. Not to mention, like, they've got so many other targets there. Pat Mahomes, I mean, he's got Mecole Hardman, who's kind of stepping up lately. He's got Travis Kelce. He's got all these other guys, Robinson, all these other guys, Pascal. I don't know who's coming back yet. I haven't even looked at the depth charts, but all I know is that these guys, these second, third stringers, they're going to start getting more volume. I just feel they're going to spread the ball more around more. Getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire involved a little more in the passing game. I don't know, man. He's a risk. He's a risk based on the pattern that I'm seeing statistically. Very touchdown dependent. Coming off a pinnacle touchdown season. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for me to invest a late first round pick. Actually, it's going to be really tough for me because I'm going robust RB. So I will not have Tyreek Hill on my rosters. But again, it's up to you guys. But for me, I will never have him on my team, period. It's just too volatile, too many targets, very touchdown dependent, coming off a pinnacle year, and I'm going robust RB. So those reasons, and again, the justification of the statistical pattern that I'm seeing, absolute disaster for me, okay? So 5 players I will just never, ever trust: Odell Beckham Jr., Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, and Tyreek Hill for the reasons that I stated in this video. And again, if there's any debate with me, please in the comments, respectfully comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Again, I think I've securely backed up my reasoning on why I'm staying away, but would love to hear your feedback. It's very important to me, okay? Get the 16-round draft solution as I deep dive into every player and tell you which player to draft in each round optimally. Make sure you guys get it. Link below. Appreciate you guys, and I'm out. Thank you. We'll talk soon.